But let's get into now the pro wrestling part of AEW, because it is all elite wrestling. On Saturday, as I mentioned, it was AEW Full Gear. And as you can catch on our YouTube channel, I did an instant reaction. I was very exhausted. That was probably the most exhausted I've been in front of a camera in my life. And then a few days later, we had a less than instant reaction from Tim. So now that we're here together on the proper Spanish announce table, a quick overview. What was your general feeling leaving Full Gear going into Dynamite? Was this a all-time classic pay-per-view for you? Is this a drive-by where we're fast lane and just getting to the next thing? What did you think?
I like this one a lot. I think it was one of the better ones they've had. Now, if you want to call that an all-time classic, maybe. That'll be as we get more of them, maybe. But
Right.
I really like this one. I watched several parts of it multiple times. I would show people parts of it with how good I thought it was. I think they really hit a lot of home runs on this one. They did well with Full Gear.
I thought it was good. As I mentioned in my instant reaction, the only portion that I felt that should not have been a part of Full Gear was the Matt Hardy Sammy Guevara match. I felt like, for a couple of reasons. One, if you were clocking that pay-per-view, it was 3.5 hours. And one of the biggest criticisms we have of WWE is, Jesus Christ, this is the length of a Lord of the Rings movie. Can we tighten this up? Right? And so I understand with their pay-per-views, because they're not every month, some matches need to breathe a little bit more. And I thought those matches in the ring did that job well. Kenny Omega and Adam Page got the appropriate amount of time. John Moxley, Eddie Kingston, I felt got the appropriate amount of time. But with that being said, you're at 3.5 hours, and Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara, I felt could have been, especially with COVID spikes, things like that, you may need to have Dynamite fill some time, and you could have had this in the can and said, now we're going to do the ultimate deletion match on Dynamite. People will pop for that because, again, it had all your IWC favorites, right? It had Gangrel, it had the Hurricane, it had Private Party, and Santana and Ortiz. So it had all your elements of fun for a TV show. But for this long-ass pay-per-view, I was just like, man, I really wish we could get some. And here's the other thing. And I know we're poking fun right now of where Tim is at the Four Seasons Total Landscaping. But Saturday was also a pretty monumental day, regardless of what side of the fence you're on in politics in America, taking into account all of the news of the day, then going into a pay-per-view at night. I felt like we could have tightened that up. With all that being said, I agree.
It's part of the reason my not so instant reaction was even not as instant as many times, because I watched, a presidential acceptance speech kind of, right, for several hours, and then the show, and then with the news, it was, we're as Americans, and I know for our international, there's people dancing in the streets, you know what I mean? It's big time news. It's historical.
Yeah, and again, whatever side you're on, right or wrong, whatever you want to call it, like the future of this country was being told to us in the news, right? Mm-hmm. And so, again, not to say like that was the reason why I was so tired, but like that was a lot to take in. And then 3.5 hours, again, the length of a Lord of the Rings movie of wrestling. So that was my only...
A Monday Night Raw of wrestling.
Right, exactly. And who really is watching all of that?
And who likes that? Yeah.
Who likes that shit? No, we do. It's fine. But the matchups were great. The storytelling was really cool. I did do a second viewing of it, and on the second viewing, I think I left a little bit more excited with how good Full Gear is.